Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to my second video on the Tomcat. So the last video we looked at the cockpit, some of the general areas and what they do. We performed a takeoff and a landing. That video was a little bit longer than the content that I'm aiming to make right now. So in this video we're just going to be worrying about performing a takeoff from parking. So this mission I created, it's just an we're on the South Pacific map, but currently the map is just empty. The only object I added was our plane. We've started from parking hot, and we're just going to taxi to the runway and take off. So the first steps to start taxiing is you need to set the anti-skid spoiler to off. Down over here, we set the carrier bypass. There's a little switch down there we'll set to be field rather than carrier. We need to check that the nose strut is off. Set the HUD display mode to takeoff, which it is by default. Release the parking brake, which is this. Nope. Apparently, starting from runway hot has the parking brake off, so we'll set the parking brake to off. Then we can throttle up a little bit to start taxiing. So we're just going to go up here and to the right to get to the runway. I do need to turn on nose wheel steering so that I can steer. But as we are taxiing, just some interesting things to note about the aircraft. The reason for the variable sweep wing design was because at low speeds, a delta wing shape, so that's what the wings are like when they're folded all the way back, is unstable because you don't have enough wing or airfoil surface area to generate a lot of lift. So it would be very unstable at landing and at takeoff. Perfect example is the MiG-21 in DCS, one of the hardest aircraft to land. But at high speeds, that delta wing design is very, very desirable because it allows you less drag at high speed, and I believe does promote higher stability. I believe that the steering wheel on under the nose of the plane does lock in the position that it was left in, so you'll want to make sure that you're going pretty good and straight before you disengage that. Then we're going to come to a complete stop. The next things to do are to set the emergency wing sweep all the way forward. Right click to set it down, and then close the cover over it. That's going to extend the wings so that they're all the way out. You would then, if this were a real Tomcat, I believe the procedure is to then set it up to... Oh, I forgot, before we can take control of the wings, we need to clear that wing sweep error message. The way you do that is by pushing this little master reset button there, and you can see that that handle starts to move back. That light has gone away, and we can now exercise the wings through their full range of motion. So I'm going to switch to the external view for that. So you can see I can pull them all the way back, put them all the way forward. For the takeoff, we do want them all the way forward. It provides more stability and lift at lower speeds. The next thing we want to do is set it to manual and then set the wing sweeps all the way forward. They default to 20 degrees. Once we're lined up, we then want to take this anti-skid spoiler and set it up to both, not off. Let's make sure that this down here, this is our elevator trim, is set to 0. We don't want any sort of trim affecting us on takeoff. And then we should be ready. So we're going to throttle up to mill power. I'm holding the toe brakes down so that we get a little bit of RPM before we start to roll. Afterburner takeoffs were not usually performed in the Tomcat due to concerns about stability if one of the engines should fail. Once we get to this speed, we should be able to start pulling back on the stick and feeling that front wheel come up. And then we're off the ground. I'm going to throttle down a little bit more because we want to get our gear pulled in before we hit 250 knots. While this red light is on, that means that the gear is in transition, and once that light goes away, the gear are all the way in. So, there. Alright, the gear are now all the way in, so we can throttle back up again, set the wing sweep to auto. As you can see right there next to the sweep angle indicator, we can set it between a few different modes. Auto and manual, and then bombing I have set to somewhere. There is a third mode for performing air-to-ground bombing runs where it sets the wings to 50... I believe it's 55 degrees, but I could be wrong. We'll cover that when we get to that section in the guide. But in a nutshell, that is how you perform a takeoff in the Tomcat. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.